Welcome to the David Pakman Show. I am Farron Cousins from Ring of Fire, sitting in once again today for David Pakman. We've got a wonderful show coming up for you today. Jim Jordan is being sued by Alvin Bragg. Melania Trump is furious at the media for talking about all of her marriage problems. Dianne Feinstein is facing more and more calls to resign after it was revealed that she has missed more than 60 votes this year. And of course, all the legal problems with Donald Trump. All of that and more is coming up on today's program. So let's jump right into it. Alvin Bragg, Manhattan District Attorney, has announced that he is suing Republican Representative Jim Jordan and pretty much the House Judiciary Committee, trying to stop a subpoena that Jordan issued last week for Mark Pomerantz. Now, I had already thought that the idea to subpoena Mark Pomerantz by Jim Jordan was very dumb. If you're not familiar with Mark Pomerantz, he is one of the two former assistant prosecutors at the Manhattan DA's office, along with Carrie Dunn. They worked under Cyrus Vance on the Trump investigation, and Pomerantz and Dunn resigned last year, and Pomerantz has revealed since then, in both his resignation letter and his new book, that he resigned because when Alvin Bragg took over from Cy Vance, he pretty much killed the investigation into Donald Trump. Pomerantz has gone as far as to say that he and Vance actually had the indictments drafted against Donald Trump. He said they were less than 10 days away from charging Donald Trump with financial crimes. And then Bragg came in, put that investigation on ice, and the rest is history, right? Well, Jim Jordan, for some reason, thought it would be a smart idea to bring Pomerantz into the House Judiciary Committee to testify, because he thought Pomerantz's testimony would somehow prove that Alvin Bragg had actually weaponized the Manhattan DA's office to go after Trump, and he weaponized it to go after Trump by not going after Trump, according to the guy Jim Jordan wants to talk to in the House. So if it's a little confusing, don't worry, it's very confusing. Jim Jordan's strategy here makes no sense at all. Pomerantz is not going to waltz into the House Judiciary Committee and say, oh yeah, Alvin Bragg absolutely weaponized this. No, he's going to say, based on what he's already said, that Alvin Bragg should have gone harder after Donald Trump, and then he's going to start laying out all the evidence they had against Donald Trump with the financial crimes. So if Pomerantz goes to that Judiciary Committee hearing, it's going to make Jim Jordan look even dumber than he already has this year. Like, that's a good thing. I want that to happen. But I can understand why Alvin Bragg doesn't. And that, of course, is why Alvin Bragg is suing to stop this subpoena from happening. And honestly, legally speaking, he has very strong grounds under which to challenge this subpoena. He can easily say that obviously, because these are ongoing investigations, they have not been closed. We, under New York state law, are forbidden from turning over evidence, from turning over documents related to ongoing investigations to third parties. And at this point, because Congress does not directly oversee the Manhattan DA's office, they would be considered a third party. It'd be no different than handing over the information that they've gathered to Fox News. That's kind of how Congress is for the Manhattan DA's office. You're just an independent third party. Sure, you've got some power, but you have no power here. So he has very strong legal grounds under which to challenge this subpoena. But I kind of wish he wouldn't. I really, really, really want Mark Pomerantz to waltz into that chamber and spill the beans on all of the horrible evidence that they uncovered in their Trump investigation. That is what I want to see. And I think a lot of people probably want to see that as well. If we're going to air some dirty laundry, let's air it out. Let's put it all out there on the line for the world to see, because that's what Jim Jordan wants to do. And I think in this particular instance, we need to honor Jim Jordan's request. We need to give him exactly what he wants. Because I believe it was Oscar Wilde who said, there's two great tragedies in life. One is not getting what you want. The other is getting exactly what you want. So let's give Jim Jordan exactly what he wants. Let's give him Mark Pomerantz's testimony about the investigations into Donald Trump. Let's let the entire country hear what Mark Pomerantz has to say about all of that evidence, about the indictments that they had drafted, and about why those indictments didn't get filed. Let's hear it from him. But that's not what Jim Jordan wants to hear. It's what he would hear, but it's not what he wants to hear. He wants to hear Pomerantz go in there and whine and cry and say, oh, Alvin Bragg made us look at this stuff and we didn't want to. We knew it was phony baloney. But yeah, that ain't going to happen. But flip side of the coin, as I said, I understand why Bragg doesn't want this to happen. If Pomerantz were to go into a Judiciary Committee hearing and start saying that Bragg was a weak prosecutor, we had all this strong evidence, he chose not to do it, it's going to make Bragg look bad. And then you're going to have people on the left, as well as all of the freaks on the right, hating on Alvin Bragg. And that's not what we need right now. I am still annoyed, I'm still angry that Alvin Bragg did not go after Donald Trump for the big financial crimes that Pomerantz and Dunn and Vance were all investigating and ready to indict him for. I think that was a mistake. I think that was a giant misstep. Based on the statements that Pomerantz has already made publicly, it seems very clear that they had Donald Trump red-handed in a lot of these instances. Now, that would have been up for a jury to decide, but now a jury's not even going to get the opportunity to decide that. And that's not fair. If the indictments were ready, as Pomerantz says they were, they should have been filed. Bragg didn't want to go that route. Bragg went the route he did. He got his indictments, 34 counts against Donald Trump. Trial coming up probably in about a year. So it all worked itself out. But Bragg doesn't want Pomerantz to talk. And again, I understand why, and I understand there's laws in New York that would likely prevent Pomerantz from saying the things that I want to hear him say. But Bragg has the law on his side. Jim Jordan only has politicization, the weaponization of the weaponization committee. And maybe he wins, maybe he doesn't. We'll see what happens as this lawsuit that Bragg has filed plays itself out in the court system.
I love my car, which is electric. I love my bicycle. And I have to say that the perfect medium in between is my electric bike by Lectric. If you're looking to spend about $800 or so on an e-bike, Lectric is where you want to go. I've tried e-bikes that cost $7,000, and Lectric delivers the same performance and specs, but at a much more reasonable price point. I take my Lectric e-bike everywhere these days. I've almost completely ditched my regular bike for now. E-bikes are, of course, better for the environment than taking a car. The e-bike gives you more flexibility and range than a regular bicycle. You can go further, you can see more. My e-bike is just my favorite form of cardio at this point. It comes fully assembled to your door. It includes a bright LCD display, 7-speed gearing, 5 levels of pedal assist, and a powerful battery that's removable so you can bring it indoors for charging. It's also fully foldable, so I can put it in the back of my car, and they have financing for as little as $73 a month. Go to lectricebikes.com to learn more. Explore all of the incredible e-bike models they offer. The link is down below.